What's up guys, in this video I'm going to show you a really useful type of UV unwrapping trick that I employ a lot. Actually it's technically two tricks, so hopefully you enjoy it. So right here I have a pretty generic unwrap for this little sci-fi crate I made, nothing complicated. What I want to show you though is a few little things I employed on this one. So first of all, I have my low poly and I have my high poly, so there you go. But on the low poly right here, notice how I have these two handles. Now on these two handles, there's not really a need to have separate UV space being used because we could overlap the UVs for both these handles and instead just get a replicated texture because it's not a very big detail that anyone will notice that replication being on. So for example, let me show you. If I go to the UV editor here, and go into edit mode, you're going to notice that right now, here is my unwrap. It could be a bit more optimized, I'll show you in a second. But as you can see on this one, I have completely overlapping sets of UVs on both these handles. And there's one specific way to do this, which I think I already mentioned in an earlier video, but we'll kind of discuss it here again. So what you actually want to do to optimize this space in situations like this is you first of all want to delete out the mirrored piece, take the main one, press the L key and then P to separate by selection, and what we could actually do is add a mirror modifier without applying the mirror modifier. And the reason we don't want to apply the mirror modifier is because right now whatever gets unwrapped on here gets unwrapped on here in the same exact location in UV space. So if I press U and hit it with an unwrap, you're going to see now we have UVs here, but this one isn't actually activated because we still have a mirror modifier live in the stack here. If I pull it out, now check this out. If I were to apply the mirror modifier, you're going to see these UVs are in the same exact spot in UV space. Now, downside of this is that whatever texture you apply in Substance Painter or Quixel, as an example, it'll be identical on both these handles, but in this situation we can get away with it because it's not going to be noticeable like ever really, especially if it's like a grunge material. So this is one really good way to optimize UV space. So that is one thing I would employ. Now another very important method of unwrapping I would employ, and I'll show you that right here, is say for example you have, I don't know, let me actually unwrap this entire crate together. So I'll select the handles and then select the crate, press U and then unwrap, and I'll just hit it with a UV Pack Master pack because just way too good. Alright, so say for example you have like a cap like this. Notice I have that. Now if I were to try to bake a detail, and for example the detail I'd be baking is this little hole here on the top. If I wanted to bake this detail here, then I would need to make sure I have ample textile density for that. Oftentimes, or not oftentimes, every single time you unwrap everything in one click, so anything you have selected, if you unwrap it, the textile density is going to be uniformly distributed. As you can see here, if I go into my low poly again, you're going to see all these UVs are these UV squares are basically the same size, right? And like looks about the same. And that's the same idea for the cap here. Now sometimes that might not cut it. You might want to have a bit higher resolution for a certain piece on your object to make sure it can actually pick up the bake properly in Marmoset, for example, a good baker. So to do that, what you can actually do, this is super easy. All you'd have to do is go in here and press the L key, and inside of your UV space, not in here, otherwise you'll scale this up, but you want to scale up the UVs in your UV space. So maybe if I wanted the bake to be a bit higher resolution, what I could do is scale this up by 2, so S and then 2. So now I have a lot better resolution to work with, which means the bakes will most likely be higher quality, not as blurry, and also the resolution will be better on this piece. So now all I'd have to really do is come back in here. Don't unwrap again. You don't need to unwrap, but what you do need to do is pack it again. That's the important part. So maybe I'll hit it with a pack a few times until I find a pretty optimal textile density. And there we go. So now I have a little bit higher resolution up here, but this is going to help the bakes tremendously. So those are two unwrapping tricks I would highly suggest you employ at some point, and you don't always need them, but it will become useful at some point in time. So just keep that in mind. First things first, overlap UVs when you can. Second thing, increase the textile density on certain pieces if you think the bake is going to need it. Sometimes the bake simply won't pick up because the details are too small, resolution's too small, whatever it may be. That is how you fix it. And just as a final little point here, anytime you run a mirror, you can always just apply the mirror and join it with the main mesh. Just make sure you don't unwrap it again because it's already unwrapped. And there you go. So that's my tip for the day on unwrapping. Hope it helps you, and if you guys haven't grabbed our game asset course yet, definitely get it in the description below. I think the sale's done. I might extend it just a few hours for you guys watching this video, but yeah, our game asset course is out if you guys want to grab that. But I also wanted to get this video out as a cool UV unwrapping tutorial for those of you that are struggling a bit with it. So hope the video helped, and I'll see you in the next one.